Hey guys, I'm MeeMee and I do Allsorts, and today we are looking at the July Smart Art box. So if you don't know, Smart Art is an art subscription box where you get different materials and you make something with it. I'm not sponsored, not affiliated, but I do love getting different supplies that I've never seen before. So with that said, let's see what we get inside. And in July's box we get... Ooh, interesting. So first off, we've got the Smart Art booklet, which will give us an insight of the materials that we can get, ideas how to use them, and projects, and even art prompts on the back. But I won't look at this now, so I'll set that aside. Alrighty, up next we have the Smart Art sticker, which is super colourful and really nice. Alright, so here I have a bubble wrap. Ooh, these look very familiar. Okay, so I have 3 glass jars of graphics aqua inks. These are watercolour inks, so they will pretty much act like watercolours. So we've got cyan, sunshine yellow, and carmine red. I'm sure that I actually gotten these exact colours from the Jan's Ultimate Creativity collection, which by the way is not sold anymore. That ended many months ago. But these were actually really fun to work with, so for once I actually know how to use something. Alright, up next we have paintbrushes. I don't know which company this is, it just says Princeton Art and Brush Co. Real Value. There's synthetic hairs and you can get 3 of them. So next in some favourite of mine, which is Faber-Castell, and this is Pit Artist pen in black. I have no idea what an SB means. I'm assuming it means like a small brush, and it is. Now I do love using Faber-Castell pens. These do work really well, and also since it's a brush pen you can get thick and thin lines, which will give that extra oomph to your drawings. And up next we have a watercolour book here from Strathmore. So this is called Press. It's acid free, heavy with some for finished artwork, wet media. This is the 400 series. I know that there's like different ones of these and I haven't got a clue what they mean, how good they are. I know most people like to go with the 300 series, but again I haven't got a clue. I have never really used Strathmore before, so if anyone can tell me the difference between these series, and please let me know. So anyway, we're getting 12 sheets, then 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. They're £114, 300 GSM. Ooh, wow. Jeez, that is such thick paper. I've never felt watercolour paper like that before. I mean, it's like twice as thick as the papers that I have. Ooh, I'm super excited to try this out now. Right, so now a sweet for the month, which is upside down, is sour apple flavoured Laffy Taffy. Now I actually do like Laffy Taffy because it's probably the only chewy sweets that actually is chewy and you don't break your teeth on them. So I'm gonna have fun eating this later, despite the fact that I hate sour apple, but the fact that it says sour on it makes me want it even more. I'm sorry, but I do love super sour stuff. Alrighty, next up in this really glary box is something by Faber-Castell. I have no idea what on earth this is, but it looks like we can... Oh, I know what these are. These are the Gelatos crayon things. I've only ever seen them being used once, but they're like water soluble in crayons. So here it says creamy, vibrant, water soluble colour sticks. And in this one we get a design guide booklet with 3 watercolour projects. And then in this we get a good variety of colours. We get whatever that is. We can get a watercolour pen, which is really nice. Then that's what the back looks like. And I love the fact that it actually gives us a key for what we get. So at the top here we get all of the different names for the sticks. B, which is a silicone mixing tray. Oh, I've never had a silicone mixing tray before. I wonder how well that actually cleans up. Ooh, I want to try it. And then we get the 14-page illustrated design guide, and our Dulux watercolour brush. Ooh, I cannot wait to try this out now. And last but not least, we have another Faber-Castell Pit Artist pen, and this time it's in white, and this is a bullet nib, just like that, and it's a size 1.5. So I think I have one of these, but in my experience, it doesn't actually work well on top of dark colours. But that's just me. I like something that packs, instead of having to layers. So it'll be fun to try out on all of these other supplies. Right, so that's everything in the box. Let me get tidied up and we can start the experimenting. So I've got everything sent out, you can't see it. Now, one thing that I would love to point out, because I just picked this up, I got a bit confused about the design of the Faber-Castell water brush pen, and I couldn't figure out how to get the water in, so I tried to twist the cap up here. Nothing happened, but then I pulled it, and it's actually a plunger. So I got my little water jar. Don't know if you can see it, and hopefully the water's going in. Barely, and the water is barely going inside. I have no idea how not to use it. So I can only pick up that much water, but I want a lot more than that. It's an interesting gimmick, but I don't think I'll use it because I want more water, and having them plunging out, it won't go back down unless you actually make it, and I am an absolute klutz when it comes to that, so that's going to be a bit of a no from me. Okay, so now we've gotten to experiment number 1 out of the way. I am just going to use one of the other brushes and just to see how that fares. I'm going to stand with these Faber-Castell Gelatos if the camera would love to focus. So it looks like a lipstick tube. You screw the bottom to make it go up, screw it to turn it the other way to make it go down. Simple. Ooh, that feels quite grainy, but I'm thinking it's because of the paper. But it's gone down really vibrantly. Right, and so there's the one colours. They are so beautiful. Inside the tubes, then do not do them any justice. Right, so let's give this a shot. They have done what it says on the tin, and they have watered down really beautifully. Only problem is you can still see where you initially put the crayon down and it hasn't fully melted, so I am not happy with that. I like to have something that will fully melt or blend into the paper. Again, my personal preference, other people may like that. It's the same with watercolour pencils. I like the lead to just blend out, but other than that, they have activated really beautifully. So next I'm going to retry the aqua ink, as you can see there, and just wet it into bits, and this is what I like, and just blends out really beautifully. And you can mix these as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they would actually react with the Gelatos. Alright, and now we're just trying out the brush pen. And like you can see, you can have thickened thin strokes, and this brush is really nice. Right, so for me it's been 24 hours, but for you it would have only been like a nanosecond. But I let everything on this paper completely dry. Mainly so that I could really test out the durability of the Faber-Castell Artist Pitt pens, and also just to try and reactivate everything, as watercolour technically shouldn't if you put water on them. And also as well, I wanted everything to be fully dry so I could really test out this white pen. As you can see, I have added a bit extra here. I've just mixed up some colours from the inks and just to see what different variations I got. I really do love that purple colour and that orange. Green isn't exactly my favourite colour. Then over here what I did was I scribbled some of the Gelatos on the silicone mat, which worked absolutely beautifully. I have never used the silicone mat before, as I mentioned, but I was able to get plenty of pigment on there and it blended really nicely, and the practically stayed where they should. Whereas I did try to put the inks on there and everything just practically shriveled up to a droplet, which wasn't exactly ideal. And I've just rubbed some water on there and wiped it up, and it does actually clean up, and you kind of need to do it as soon as you've finished it. So I don't know how much that is going to stain, but at least it comes off. Alright, so then said, I'm going to try and reactivate some of these colours just to test it. So let's give it a go. Okay, so first off, the Gelatos actually reactivates, which is quite nice, and so do the inks. Now try this pen. That does actually smudge, so I have to be very careful with that. That will be going on last, so there'll be no smudging of any kind. And last but not least, I'm going to try out the white. Okay, one thing then I would like to point out is that you have to then clean the nib every time you use the colour, because that does actually pick up. I mean, on the yellow here, I went from the blue straight onto the yellow, and it did actually pick up the blue, so that's something to bear in mind. And then as you can see down here, it had a little bit of time to dry and it practically soaked in, whereas it was a bit brighter when I put it down. But just kind of depends on what kind of highlights you're looking for. Are you looking for something a bit more subtle? Are you looking for something that's in your face? Yeah, and just went over again on the black just for a second layer, and it really hasn't done anything. And also as well, just doing that, it has actually ripped up the paper quite a bit, so this is like a one-stroke use kind of deal. So I will have to be very careful of how I use this, but this will be used for like more subtle white highlight. Alright, so now all of the experimenting is over and done with. So now we move on to the prompts. And for this month's prompts we get balloon, prickly, mushrooms and safari. Now I have to admit I actually did look at this earlier while I was looking through the booklets, and I instantly thought of something to do. So I'm going to draw something up and I will get back to you. So what I've decided to do is do a tiger. Tigers are one of my favourite animals. I know there's probably not anything to do with the safari, but it was the first thing that came to mind, and so I'm doing it. So that's what I'm going to do, a watercolour tiger. So let's get to it. Okay, so that's actually quite interesting. As you've just seen me do, I've just taken a bit of the pigment straight off from the crayon and just put it down. I really do like the texture, and what I was hoping for was like a flat wash, and I actually really like it. I wanted it to be loose at first, and then I can go in later with like more tight details, I suppose, if you want to call it that. And it's always good to start off with the base layer first. Now here I've just gone in with some of the green and the yellow crayons, and just put on the silicone mat and mix them together, and just getting some variations and just build my way from there. I'm not looking for absolute perfection with these leaves, because trying to do like this much detail is going to take way too long. Besides, I think that like more of a splotchy effect like this will work even better. And now I've just mixed some of the aqua inks, and I'm going to go in with the darker colour. And I'm using a little inkwell that I bought, which is actually really awesome to use. like really saturated colours, you know, especially since I have to layer up quite a bit. So if I have to admit that I really do love using everything here. You know, especially the gelato sticks, which I've never used before. So much fun to work with, and there's a lot of them, they're really easy to use. As you can see, I've just made it brown, and all I did was then to mix all of the aqua inks together. It did actually take a while to try and get the right colour, but you know, again, I didn't want it to be too dark, so I watered it down quite a bit. I think that this is actually the first time I've ever made it brown from scratch, and that wasn't, you know, purposefully done in like a water jar. Okay, so now the downside to all this is that I still need to use this pit pen, which yeah, it's going to look out of place because the colours are like, I don't know, washed out, I suppose. You know, putting a bold black on top is probably just going to destroy everything that I've worked for, or maybe couldn't punch out the colour a bit more. I don't know. I'm going to go in with the pen and hopefully not destroy everything I've worked so hard for. Also, I don't exactly have this dirty to full hands, so these will be a little bit shaky. You know, there's Bob Ross's when he's doing trees, you know, if you know, when he's doing the branches on trees, if you've got shaky hands, and this will be perfect for you. Alright, and here we are. Now, I have to say I had so much fun doing this, obviously, because I love doing watercolours. I did a different technique to what I normally do, which was really going light and build upon dark areas and some went, and you know, just to give a nice like soft effect. Even though then, as I said, then I was really hesitant to using the black brush to do like all of the outlines. I think it actually went to my advantage there. Maybe not with the wispy bits at the edge, but I didn't want to do too much to that, and so I didn't lose like the face of the tiger. Alright, product review. First time trying the Faber-Castell Gelatos, and I'm most likely pronouncing these wrong, and it's making me hungry for gelato now. But honestly guys, these were amazing to work with. As I've mentioned before, I've tried Marabou art crayons, and these are on a whole different level. These have got more crayons in them. They're a lot easier to take the caps off and to move the crayon in and out. And it's in a nice simple design, and they just came in such beautiful bright colours, and they blended really well, they worked extremely well on the paper. You've seen me use the brushing straight on from the crayon, which for me worked a lot better than doing it on the silicone mat, which I don't think I've actually used except for in like the experimental stage, just to try that out. As you just saw, it's clean, so I'd say definitely give these a whirl if you can find them. The aqua rings, I cannot fault these. They are amazing to use. Mixing up the colours is really easy. Albeit you have to be very careful with how much you put in. You know, sometimes you have to go yellow heavy when making orange or making green, you know, and it just depends on what colours you were looking for. Blended beautifully, they worked really well amongst the gelatos. They reactivated really nicely, even after 4 days in an inkwell. Yeah, again, another product that I would highly recommend that you try out. And even though that it is ink, it doesn't dry permanently, you know, and as you've seen on the swatching stage, it does reactivate with water and even after 24 hours, so that's a huge plus in my book. Just be sure to use pipettes when you're doing it. The Faber-Castell small brush pen, I really loved using it. It's a nice soft tip, and you got a different line width, worked really well in getting the different textures, and honestly, these are perfect for when you're wanting to do fur textures, which I've got some really nice textures going on here, and just to break up all of these curvy lines. So if you're looking for a different brush pen, go for it. The white artist pen, again, this will be down to personal preference. I didn't necessarily like it. None of the white's actually showing up on the final bit, and it just smudged everything, especially when I've done the whiskers. The whiskers are meant to be white, but they came out grey. Great because you can actually see them, but I would actually prefer like an actual work and white pen, like a gel pen, Uniball Signal preferably, you know, and different pens give different effects, so this will be great if you want to have like just a bit of like translucent white in there. Just be careful if you do use it, because like you can send, it will pick up any colour on the paper, so if you want to give into well, that's what it is. The paintbrushes work like a paintbrush. They were really nice to use. I love the different sizes that I got, and they worked really well doing the finer details. Yeah, paintbrush. I am going to throw the silicone mat into this because I've never used one before. This was actually really fun to use. Now, you probably can't see on camera, but this is actually a light mint green colour, which made mixing colours really difficult because it's got like that bit of a tinge to it that made the colours look really off. But apart from that, using the gelatos on it, wherever you put in the gelato, it stayed there. It didn't shrink, and like the ink it didn't go everywhere. Wherever you put it, that's where it stayed. And because of the surface texture on thin, it helped a lot and really grip in the crayon. It was really easy to clean. A little bit of stainage from the ink, so I would stay away from inks if you're going to try a silicone matte. Only downside for me is that it does collect dust. It's a dust magnet, so I'd suggest that you do store it really well. But again, at least it's easy to clean up. And in case you were wondering about the inkwell scent I've been using, this is it. It's a 24 well porcelain palette and does have a lid within, but it's safely off to the side. It is quite weighty, and honestly guys, I absolutely love using this. This will clean up really easily because it is porcelain, and it does actually hold quite a bit of ink as well, despite the fact that they are quite shallow. So not in the box, but I would actually recommend if you do use inks, I would go for like a porcelain inkwell. You know, there are different ones out there. I'm just going to like the 24 one, which has actually helped in the past with one of my ink pieces. Anyway, then was just a little bit extra. So there we have it, then Smart Art July box. If you guys would like to try your own Smart Art box, I will leave a link in the description box below. So with that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.